So today's is all about accountability, and specifically accountability in relationships, because relationships are one of those really weird and sensible things that we have to have in business. We need to have them, we need to make sure they're working, but they can go wrong. And when they go wrong, they can cause all sorts of problems and breakdowns. So what is the role of accountability in relationships? Because actually it's a very specific role, and it has a huge influence on the success or failure of the relationship. So first of all, let me ask you a question. If you think about it, what in your life are you accountable for, and who are you accountable to? And then if we bring it to the business area, what are you accountable in at work? What are you accountable for at work? And who are you accountable to at work? Now, I'm generally talking to people who are business owners or business leaders or business managers, and they normally expect that people are being accountable to them for the results that they're going to achieve. Well, that is true, but there is another sort of accountability going on there, which is your staff, or the people who work for you, are holding you accountable for something. And that's what we're going to get to in this brief, quick view of what accountability in relationships are all about. So basically there's two types of accountability. The first type is the implicit accountability. That's the one that is absolutely unclear. It's just implied. We don't know what it is, but somebody is implying that we're accountable for something. It's a suggestion. It hasn't been directly expressed to us. And that's the one that can cause lots of trouble. The other one is explicit accountability. So if you have somebody working for you and they are accountable for some targets that you set them, then you can work with them on achieving those targets. And that's absolutely explicit because it's declared, it's upfront, it's very clear. There's no doubt about it. And that sort of accountability is really simple to work with. So as a coach, if I'm working with somebody, they want to get their business to a particular level, or they want to increase their number of staff, or they want to increase their turnover, there's a specific goal that we're aiming at. There's a specific target we're aiming at that they want to achieve. So I can hold them accountable to the work they're doing towards achieving that goal. Now, that's fairly straightforward. That's explicit accountability. So what I'm working on with them is holding their feet to the fire, making them accountable for achieving the results they say they want to achieve. However, if we look at relationships for a second, in a relationship, my purpose for my relationship with that customer is going to be to make sure that I clearly understand what their goals and targets are that they want to achieve, the outcomes they want to achieve. And I'm also going to be really clear about the things they're doing, and I'm going to understand what they are and help them fill in the gaps to find out what's missing, what the blockages are, so the coaching relationship works. But they have a purpose for their relationship with me too, and this is where the implicit accountability comes into play. Because their purpose of their relationship with me, if it's not clearly declared, might mean that they're holding me accountable for something that I'm unaware of. And this is why accountability in relationships is so important, especially when you're dealing with the relationships of employer-employee, or coach-coachee, or contractor-contractee. Because you actually, in the contract, when I'm coaching somebody, I've contracted to support them getting a result, whatever that result may be. But if they are expecting, or the purpose of their relationship is something else, then my purpose and their purpose are going to be slightly off-matched. And what happens then is the way I approach my work with them might not be meeting their purpose because I haven't understood what their purpose is. So for example, in a really negative sense or a toxic sense, what if their purpose was to cover their ass? Okay, I'm having the coaching from Adrian because my boss says I've got to have it, tick that box, but I'm not going to do any of the work because I'm not committed to the result. I'm just doing this so that my ass is covered and it looks like I'm doing the right thing. Well, if I start coaching that person, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to achieve the results, and the dynamic is not going to work. So the relationship is going to break down. And either they're going to say, I'm a lousy coach, or I'm going to say they're not doing the work, but the boss is going to look at it and say, well, this isn't working. Not good for me, not good for the person I'm coaching, and not good for the boss. Now that is because the employee is holding me accountable for something that actually I'm not there to deliver. I'm not there to cover their ass. I'm not there to make them look good in front of their boss. I'm there to help them to achieve the declared result. So in a coaching situation, I'm there to achieve the declared result, And if the purpose of the person I'm coaching is also to achieve the declared result, everything works fine because we all know what we're in the game for. So if I'm coaching somebody and they have this undeclared result, then it becomes an implicit accountability. I don't know what I'm being held accountable for with that person. And this is what happens when we have a management situation working with an employee and the employee doesn't seem to be playing the right game, doesn't seem to be pulling their weight. Because what's happening is the employee is not necessarily holding their boss accountable for the same thing that the boss is holding the employee accountable for. They're mismatched. So when the purpose is absolutely stated clearly, there's no doubt, we have explicit accountability and everything works fine. But when the purpose is unclear and it's not expressed, we have this implicit accountability. And what can happen then is the dynamic of the relationship. Remember, we have purpose of my relationship with that person and them with me. That relationship is held together by a dynamic. And that dynamic is how we work together, the things we do, the language we use, the processes we use. So as a boss, if the person who's working for you is not clear with you about their purpose of being in that role, then you may be holding them accountable for one thing, but they're going to be holding you accountable for something completely different. As in, when somebody's holding you accountable for that, they're expecting you to deliver something to them, which you may not be delivering. And that may cause an upset in the relationship. So, what are the mistakes that people make? Well, the biggest mistake we make is that we assume that we understand the purpose of the other person's relationship with us. We may be clear about our purpose with them, but we assume that we are clear about their purpose with us. And often that is not the case. And we act as if the other person is accountable. So if I'm the employee for a minute and you're my boss and I'm holding you accountable for something, my purpose in the relationship, that you're not aware of, I'm going to assume or I'm going to act as if you are aware of it. So you're going to think that I'm acting really strangely, making demands of you that you can't meet, because actually I'm holding you accountable for something that you're unaware of. So you can't be in a situation, you're not a mind reader, so you can't know what's going on. The other thing is then, once that doesn't happen, my boss isn't delivering to me the things I think my boss should be delivering to me, I start to blame my boss and make my boss wrong. Yeah, the weird thing is, whenever anyone leaves a job, have you ever heard anyone leave a job and actually admit that they were in the wrong? No. Most people leave a job and they blame the company. The company was wrong, which is why they left the job. So that doesn't work either. Then the final thing is, when you're in a relationship and the accountability is not clear, or it's implicit and it's confused and diffuse, what happens is that the person withholds their contribution because they're waiting for the other party, normally the boss, to make it right for them to make the contribution. So they sit there waiting for the boss to change to something that the boss doesn't even know that they have to change to. And again, the relationship is broken down. So when that is happening, what we've got to do is got to get inside what is going on in this relationship and fix it really quickly. We need to fix the breakdown in the relationship, and that is caused by a misunderstanding of who's accountable for what. And here's a statement which just sets it out for you. If you're the leader of a business or a manager of a group of people, or you're controlling a group of people in any organisation, maybe it's a volunteer group or something like that, you are accountable as that person, that leader, that manager. You are accountable for fulfilling the purpose of the people that are working with you, their purpose of their relationship with you. So you are accountable for fulfilling the purpose of your employee's relationship with you. Do you know what it is? That's the number one question. Because on the whole, we assume we know and we don't know. So in the interview process, when somebody's starting at work, it's really clear to understand that and get them to tell you clearly what the purpose is. Now, over time, that purpose may change, which is why we should regularly review our employees and actually have sessions with them to find out how they're doing and what's going on for them, what's changed for them. And we shouldn't be doing that once a year. It should be much more regular. And most time when you have that employee review or that session with your boss, it's sort of stuck in a drawer and forgotten. That's not the way to do it. You've got to have that up front, because that's where you're going to discover what people are holding you accountable for as their boss, and then you have a chance to work with it. So what are the things you need to do as a boss to make sure that you're not making a mistake about accountability or what people are holding you accountable for? Because no, it's not fair. But you are the boss, so you're in charge, you're responsible for making sure your business works. And you're in charge, if you like, you hold dear these relationships. You're the holder of the relationships, you're the guardian of the network of relationships that makes up your business. And therefore, if there's something going wrong, it's up to you, not them, it's up to you to go in and actually take the action to fix it, to resolve the breakdown, to heal the breakdown, to put the relationship back on the correct footing. So what are the things you need to do? Well, first of all, you've got to expose any applied accountability. You've got to make sure it's clear that people are assuming that you are going to be accountable for something. And it could be a simple thing, that, you're, as an employee, I assume my boss is going to come and ask me if everything's all right every week. So actually, I don't have to tell him if I've got a problem. I'm assuming, I'm putting the accountability on him. It'll be up to him to come and ask me. Well, that's pretty weird, I think, because that shouldn't be happening. You should be actually bold enough to actually say to your boss, and your boss should be encouraging you to come to talk to him, but you should be coming to talk to him when you have a problem. The next thing is you've got to understand your employee's purpose. You've really got to be clear about what they are holding you accountable for in their mind, because then you have a choice to actually say to them, well, actually, I'm not prepared to be accountable for that. Now, what that sets up is an opportunity, if you have a dialogue, to try and arrange another way of organising yourselves to work. And if it doesn't work, then probably the employee will leave. But you've got to be clear of what you will be accountable for and what you won't be accountable for. The next thing is to set really clear guidelines of behaviour. So what are the behaviour guidelines you can set that make it really clear to that employee of how they should operate with you as their boss? The dynamic of what you're going to be doing together, the interactions you're going to have, the interactions you want to have them to have with your customers, with other colleagues in the business. And as the leader, you have to set the standards. You have to be the person that says, no, this is how we operate, and then you have to be the role model. So many business owners think it's out there. Those guys need to do the work. Those guys need to behave a particular way. When actually it's you. You need to behave that particular way and be the role model for them. And finally, as I said just a little earlier, you have to be the guardian of the network of relationships that make up your business. And remember, every relationship is one-to-one. So every employee is going to have a relationship with you, and they're going to have a relationship with your business. People go to work and they expect the business to do things for them, but they don't declare that. And then they get upset and then they leave. And that's just nuts, because it takes so much money to employ people, to find the right people. When you found them, you've got to make sure that you create an environment where they declare all this stuff. They declare what they expect. So that you can either say, no, that's not true, it's not going to happen, and cope with that situation, or manage the business so that that person gets their purpose satisfied. So basically those four things. Expose the implied accountabilities in your business. Understand your employee's purpose, their relationship with you, so that you can make that clear, what's going to work and not going to work. Create really clear guidelines for behaviour. Set the standards and be the standard bearer, the role model for your business. And be the guardian of the network of relationships that makes up your business. Because if you do that, then the accountability that you set up between you and your staff is going to be really powerful and help you create a fantastic contribution revolution in your business, because everyone's going to know what the game is. Hope you enjoyed this week. So see you next week when we talk about reviews. Bye for now.